Woe to you, O earth and sea, for the devil sends the beast with wrath, because he knows the time is short. Let him who hath understanding reckon the number of the beast, for it is a human number. Its number is 666.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Log One Tower, this is Albatross 1-3, requesting permission to land, over.
I don't need a computer to tell me how to land a damn airplane.
6.
Heads-up display, check.
5,
Lasers, check.
4,
Particle beam, check.
3,
Photon bolts, check.
2,
Chair control, check.
1.
Let's do it.
Broadcasting from a secret underground location somewhere in Mos Eisley, this is the Docking Bay 77 podcast. Make yourself comfortable. The show is about to start. Hello and welcome to the Docking Bay 77 podcast. I am your head-banging heavy metal Iron Maiden fan of a host, Dayton Johnson. Man, I am super excited for this episode. I've been waiting ever since I put it on the damn calendar. And yeah, let's get into it. Joining me tonight, after shaving his head, he found the 666 tattoo. Some call him Damien. We call him Eric Brock. How's it going, Eric?
I'm not a number. I'm a free man.
You may know the way to Sesame Street, but this guy knows how to get to 22 Acacia Avenue. It's Tim Brown. How's it going, Tim?
For here on, I would like to be known as the new number 2.
I saved that one for you, Tim.
Thank you.
I love it.
I appreciate it.
I love it. And when this guy sees invaders coming, he's smart enough to run to the hills. It's John Wright.
Well, I'll be fucked. How you doing?
Oh, yes. Off to a raging start. Love it. Yes, we are discussing my favorite album from the band I consider the best heavy metal band of all time. It is Iron Maiden's The Number of the Beast. Let's get into it. We have some facts about the album. Released March 22nd, 1982. Recorded and mixed in 5 weeks during February and January of 82 at the Battery Studios in London, England. Produced, of course, by Martin Birch. Only album to have a writing credit from Clive Burr, and the first to have writing credits from Adrian Smith. It was, of course, the first album to feature Bruce Dickinson on vocals. According to Martin Birch, Paul Di'Anno wasn't able to keep up with Steve where his writing was going, so good change. Bruce was also very involved in the writing of Children of the Damned, The Prisoner, and Run to the Hills, but due to his contractual obligations to his old band, Samson, he was not actually given writing credit on the album. The artwork, of course, provided by Derek Riggs, was originally done for the single Purgatory off the album Killers. But their manager, Rod Smallwood, said it was way too good for just a single, so saved it, and we got it for this album. Speaking of singles, 2 were released off of it. Run to the Hills was released in February prior to the album's release, and then later in April, The Number of the Beast title track was released. It was the band's first record to top the UK charts, entering at number 1 on April 10th of 1982. It remained in the top 75 for 31 weeks. It entered Billboard 200 at 150 and peaked at number 33. It was certified gold in the US on October 4th, 1983, and eventually platinum in 1986. The New York Times reported in 2010 that it sold over 14 million copies. That's quite a few. Since its release, it has received consistent critical acclaim. AllMusic described it as among the top 5 essential heavy metal albums ever recorded, a cornerstone of the genre. It's on numerous top 100 lists, including the one from Q Magazine, IGN, Metal Rules, Guitar World, Classic Rock, and HMV. It's one of 2 Iron Maiden albums in Robert Dimery's book from 2017, 1001 Albums You Must Hear Before You Die. The other one is the debut from the band. Ranked number 4 on the Rolling Stones 100 Greatest Heavy Metal Albums of All Time. Now, the fun part. During their U.S. tour in support of this album, many social conservatives claimed the band were Satanists and smashed and burned copies of their albums. Some went as far as protesting outside concert venues, handing out leaflets, and in a few cases, even carrying a 25-foot cross. Those nutty Christian conservatives. Anyway, is there anything you guys heard about the album that you wanted to share before we get into it?
I actually did a little research because I wasn't sure if you were going to be doing the history or if you wanted me to do it. So I discovered that it is, in fact, an album by Iron Maiden, and there are songs on it. And Eddie is on the cover.
It is that kind of crack reporting that we live for, Eric.
How I have missed you, Eric.
Oh, my goodness. Anyway, so fantastic. Let's hit some opening thoughts on this album. Eric, you go first.
I think Bruce obviously is a welcome addition.
Yeah,
for sure. And while I love Nico more as a drummer, I think Clive really shined on this album.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah, there's definitely a personality in the drums on this album for sure. 100%.
Yeah.
All right. Do you remember when the first time you heard this? Any history with it?
It was, well, the album itself, I don't remember. I know the first song I ever heard from Iron Maiden was Run to the Hills, because you guys remember those albums from like K-Tel?
Oh, yeah.
Just have hits of the day or whatever. My mom used to buy me one of those like maybe once a month or something. And I got one and it had Run to the Hills on it. And I just remember hearing that thinking, what is this? This is awesome. So, but as far as when I heard the entire album, I don't have a clue.
All right, cool. All right, John, how about you?
Shocker. When you proposed this album, this podcast, first time I've listened to this album in its entirety.
Wow.
Wow.
I have Maiden stuff in my collection. Majority of the Maiden stuff I have is greatest hits. I'm probably not as big of a Maiden fan as you guys are. Maiden's one of the band. A lot of their albums I can kind of take it or leave it, but I've only seen them once live in person, but I have several of their live DVDs and stuff, and they're one of the bands that I will go see live just for the hell of going to see them live. It's I don't necessarily need it. Of course, the one time I see them live, I'm expecting a lot of songs off this album, and the fuckers wouldn't play anything past a certain point. I got 3 classic Maiden songs at the very end of the set. But that being said, it was still definitely worthwhile seeing them. Again, I'm a Maiden fan from the aspect of they're probably one of the most intelligently written bands out there. There's a couple bands you think of when you think of lyrics, and Rush is one and Maiden is definitely the other.
Right.
That's what they're known for, aside from a few key elements of the stage show and the mascot of Eddie. But they're known. They're often called a thinking man's metal band for a very good reason once you dive into the lyrics.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I heard a quote. I can't remember who it was from. I think it was actually from somebody in Judas Priest, who said, if listening to an Iron Maiden song is like going to college.
I didn't know there was going to be homework.
Right. All right. Tim, opening thoughts.
I think I've always been aware of and a fan of Maiden, obviously. I mean, I know a lot of their stuff, but I'm a little bit in the same boat as John in that I don't think I ever sat down and listened to this album all in one go, because there were 2 songs on this one that I knew the track names for, like I recognized them when I read it, Invaders and 22 Acacia Avenue. But then when they played, I was like, nope, I don't think I've ever actually heard this before. And then Gangland, I'm like, didn't even recognize the track title, never recognized the song. I'm like, well, that's completely new to me. But that being said, I really think this album overall is practically like the Maiden version of a greatest hits package, because I just think everything else on it is that good.
Right. All right, very good. So this was the beginning of my Iron Maiden fandom. I was obviously familiar with them. The videos from this album, Peace of Mind and Power Slave, were all over MTV, in the 80s. My brother and our friends, Todd and Timber, were big fans, so I heard them frequently. But it was the summer of 1985 when I dove deep into this album. I spent 2 weeks at Todd and Timber's house when my parents were in Europe. The only reason I didn't go to Europe was because I said, "Hey, you guys going to England?" They said, "Well, we're landing there, and then we're leaving." I said, "Then I don't want to go." And I listened to the album every chance I got, even falling asleep to it at night while wearing my Walkman. The album was the next logical step in songwriting from the band. We get more creative with arrangements and the next level matching of vocal melodies with the music. Oh, so good. They've always been really good at that, but they got better. I have examples. The production is level up over the previous 2 albums, and the track listing is solid. This album was my favorite, is my favorite Maiden album, and also has my favorite Maiden track of all time on it. So looking forward to discuss it for sure.
So this is your favorite Maiden album, even though it's not the best Maiden album.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Because we both agree that Power Slave is the best Maiden album, right?
Yes, I would completely agree with that. But like I said, this was the one where I really became a fan. I started buying their other albums and stuff like that. So
gotcha.
All right. So we are going to do our thing where we try to guess each other's favorite tracks.
Here we go.
Yeah. So I gotta be honest. I have one I think is right. So what we're going to do is we're going to each take turns. We're going to go ahead and announce them, our guesses. And as we go through the track listing, we will speak up and say, "Yeah, this one's my favorite song." So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go first and read off mine, who I think, who's whatever. And then we'll go do Eric's, John, and Tim. So for Eric, I think it's the title track. For John, I think it's Run to the Hills. And for Tim, I think it's Children of the Damned. Eric, what are your guesses?
For you, I've got Hallowed Be Thy Name. For John, I've got the title track. And for Tim, I have The Prisoner.
All right. John, what are your guesses?
For you, I have Hallowed Be Thy Name. For Eric, I have The Prisoner. And for Tim, I have The Number of the Beast.
All right. A lot of overlay here. Tim, your guesses?
Well, I'm going to make it a hat trick on the guesses for Dayton. Hallowed be thy name. I think that's going to be it. For Eric, I've got The Number of the Beast. And for John, I've got Children of the Damned.
All right. This is going to be interesting. So, all right. We're going to get into it. Let's needle drop on side 1. All songs are written by Steve Harris, except where we will notate. First track, Invaders. Eric, you go.
I like the music a lot. It's got the Maiden sound and the vibe for sure. I think the chorus is pretty weak, actually. Good guitar solos though, and that's something you're going to hear me probably say a lot tonight.
Yeah,
with Maiden. I think Dave and Adrian are just so, melodic, and they create great guitar parts, but they're so often overlooked. When people talk about, great metal guitar players. So. Like I said, I think the chorus in this one is like the weak part of the song. I think everything else about it's great.
Right. All right. John, you have anything to add?
I'm kind of with Eric on this. Chorus wise, I don't like the invaders. Bum ba-da-ba-dum. Bum ba-da-ba-dum. It sounds like a video game spawning and respawning.
Oh, jeez! Wow.
I just to me it kind of takes away from the song a little bit, but otherwise. Again, I'm not knocking musicianship. I'm just knocking the particular choice there.
Right.
It's not a song I was really familiar with because, like I said, there's a lot on this album that I wasn't particularly familiar with from the start. So, it does again, fit the classic Maiden vibe of epic storytelling, epic music, killer guitar solo, great bass work as always. So yeah, it's a good it is a good opening track. I will admit, first time I listened to it, I'm like, I'm not sure how I feel about this as an opening track, but I mean, no, I expected, as Maiden matured, so to speak, a lot of their openers and stuff got a little bit more powerful.
I'd agree with that.
The albums overall got a little bit more powerful. So this, not having a ton of exposure to a lot of early Maiden stuff that wasn't a quote unquote greatest hits, it was a little, I was like, it's not quite what I expected to lead off the album.
All right. All right, Tim, anything to add?
My note on it was that I think it's a great kickoff for the album. Very, very high energy, obviously. I had a note that it's a little bit punk sounding, maybe just because of that fast, very, very reckless, almost proto thrash kind of feel to it.
Interesting.
That just feels like they're just going balls to the wall, and maybe they're going to run off the rails. Maybe they're going to get to the end of the song. We don't really know.
All right. So my notes on this one, during the verse especially, listen to the vocals and the guitars. The guitar literally punctuates Dickinson's vocals. The guitars are hitting chords exactly on count when he hits on his certain beats. Like he's literally starting a lyric and they're hitting a chord at the same time. It's something I noticed recently because you always hear the music behind it, but you're more listening to him. But this time I'm like really kind of picked up on the subtleties that are going on behind that. But you always hear how these bands say, oh, we worked on the melody for the vocals to go along with this. And there's a lot of examples on this album where they really, you could tell they did that and they match up quite well. But to John's point about, and actually Eric's about the chorus, Steve Harris felt the song wasn't strong enough for this album. So he actually is kind of upset that it's even on the album. So I thought that was interesting to read. But I agree with Tim. I think it's a pretty good opener in general. All right. Track number 2, Children of the Damned. John.
Again, not a song I was super duper familiar with from the start. It is a great song. I think where it suffers a little bit for this album is placement.
Because I disagree.
Well,
Eric looks like Eric agrees.
I totally agree.
And it's only because it starts out so slow and acoustic. It's a major left turn from the first song.
Okay.
So you're almost hitting a wall there, and it's like, wait, is this the same band I just listened to for the last 6 minutes? Something's different here. I love the theme of the song, based on a movie of the same name from 1963. Harris is a big reader and movie buff, evidently. But it's musically, there's some beautiful stuff going on in this song. The acoustic stuff and at the front is really great. I was like, the other day when I was listening to it, I'm like, I zoned out because I had a lot going on, and I'm listening to this, and it started out so slow, and it had somewhere in the middle, it shifts and it picks up pace, and then the electrics kick in and everything starts going. And I'm like, wait a second, did I miss a track? What track am I on? But that's also a testament to it because it takes you out of what you're in and draws you into the music, which Maiden is so good at doing. So yeah, I love the song. I just think it suffers a little bit on placement on the album.
Right. Eric, want to add anything to that?
Well, I've got shouldn't be the second track was my first note on it, actually. I think it should be later in the album. It doesn't do much for me at all, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Not a song I seek out.
Interesting. All right. Tim, anything to add?
I feel like even if you don't know anything about Iron Maiden except for something like Run to the Hills, you read the title of this one and you say, okay, it's a Maiden track, and you know immediately exactly what this song is going to sound like. And that is exactly what this song sounds like. I feel like it is just by the numbers Maiden. You think, what is Iron Maiden? Well, here they are.
I love that. All right. As John mentioned, it is based on the films Village of the Damned and Children of the Damned. On a BBC interview, Dickinson mentioned that this was inspired also by Black Sabbath's Children of the Sea. So I thought that was an interesting note. In my mind, the bridge is another great example of vocals matching the beats of the music. Some bands have songs where it just kind of feels like somebody's just singing over whatever music they're playing behind them. This album is the exact opposite of that. I don't feel like anything is in the wrong place. It's like everything is very purposeful, and the bridge is a good example of that as well. So I'm assuming this was nobody's favorite, so I already got one wrong. So
Me too.
All right. Damn it. All right. Moving on. Track number 3, The Prisoner. Tim.
Well, let's just get this out of the way right off the bat. This is my favorite track.
Ooh, who got that right?
That'd be Mr. Brock.
All right.
I was never a huge fan of the TV show, but I do remember it being on late night TV and reruns at some point in my late teens, early 20s. And I used to put it on when there was nothing else to watch. And I thought the show was just so bizarre. I liked it for that. It was so weird. So when I discovered that the intro to this song was from that, I thought that was pretty cool right off the bat. One of my favorite musical memories has to be jamming this tune in Eric's living room during his drummer phase.
I love that. Yes, inspired by the British TV show. We used to sell copies of that when I worked at Suncoast. It was actually kind of a popular sell. It does feature dialogue from the title sequence. I refer you to Dickinson's book, What Does This Button Do?, for details on how they got permission to use it. It's actually kind of a fun story. Personally, I love the opening drums on this track. I mean, it's not like there's anything outstanding about what he's doing, but damn, does it friggin' fit perfectly at the beginning of this song. I just love it. So,
Oh yeah, this kick.
Oh my God, it's so cool. Like I said, a lot of personality in the drums on this album. Eric, anything to add?
It's always been one of my favorite Iron Maiden songs, and on this album, John got it correct. It is my favorite song.
Oh, nice.
On the album.
Nice.
I figured the melody would be the fact that it's more melodious, it would be right up your alley.
It's so hooky. Yeah. I got a fantastic chorus. Everybody shines on it.
Yeah.
It's got a great pre-chorus as well, and shocker, awesome guitar solos. So
right. I mean,
I've always loved some of the little just rhythmic choices they make, because it's got that basic riff. Ba-na-na-na-na. Now, but they always vary it. Like the second time, one time it'll be now, and then the second time just little changes like that just add so much, like you said, personality, character. It's a great example of good choices in songwriting.
right. John, anything else to add?
There's not really too much more I can add. It is a really good song. Again, there's nothing on this album, I don't think, where you're, at least sound wise, where you're not going to go, oh, that's Iron Maiden. You're gonna know sound wise from from beginning to end that this is Maiden. So
Right.
this is just another one that fits that proggy-esque metal Nawaba sound that they are known for.
Right. Right. All right. Yeah, this is the first of 2 tracks in a row that were written by both Adrian Smith and Steve Harris. The next one, 22 Acacia Avenue, written by Adrian Smith and Steve Harris. Tim, how do you get there? Never mind. Anyway, the sequel to the Charlotte the Harlot song, second longest track on the album, actually, which I kind of find interesting. The pre-chorus and bridge are more great examples of the perfect pairing up of the vocals and the music. The riff in the section after the first solo is kind of awesome. I love that the last minute of the song is they're just ripping. Everybody's just kind of jamming, and it sounds so good. Personally, I think it's a great way to end side 1. So, Eric, anything to add to 22 Acacia Avenue?
I'm kind of indifferent on this one.
Really?
I can dig I can dig the music, but it's not a song I listen to very often. I'm not a huge fan of the vocals either.
Interesting. All right. John.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Eric on this. It's not one that really stands out to me. It seems a little too blah for Maiden, and
Right.
I'm not a huge fan of some of the lines in the song, some of the vocal lines.
Okay.
Musically, I like it, but some of the lyrics and stuff when he's talking about, you can beat her, you can do whatever you want to her, she'll take it, it's like, in this day and age, it's probably.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, he's trying to get her to leave that life too. So there actually is a story arc to this one and the previous.
Yeah, but I think
song.
I think for the casual person, the story arc is kind of lost. I think that's where it might suffer from.
Yeah, well, screw
it does, unless you pay really, really particularly close attention to the lyrics. I think it does kind of glorify the lifestyle that they're trying to drag the character
at first
out
glance,
of.
at first glance, if you're not paying attention, that's exactly what it does.
Yeah.
And if you're not real familiar with the Charlotte the Harlot song prior, you're a little lost. Now it's ambitious to have a second part of a musical trilogy or whatever it turns out to be, and it's not on the same album the original song was, and I give them props for that. That's definitely thinking outside the box. But looking at it from a first time listener, I struggled with the lyrics, and
I get what you're saying. It does kind of come off, unless you know that part of the other part of the story that they're telling there, it does kind of come off a little harsher than I think might have been intended.
Right.
Right.
I had for my notes on this one that it's kind of like Maiden's version of LaGrange by ZZ Top.
Yes, that's good actually.
Wow.
But
Nice
of
pull.
course, in typical Maiden fashion, they're going to turn it into this epic metal opera instead of this little bluesy, backwoods kind of sounding song.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Let's flip the record over and drop the needle on side 2. Title track, Number of the Beast. Eric.
Classic Maiden track, all killer, no filler. I remember being a kid and wondering if it was okay to like this song, though. But I got over that pretty quick. As a guitar player, there's so much in this song to rip off, as a guitar player, and once again, killer guitar solos. Obviously, this will be in their set list forever. I would imagine it's it's just a classic Maiden song.
I agree with that.
It's one of those, if they don't play it, I think the crowd's probably going to riot,
All right, John, anything to add to Number the Beast?
From this album, this is my favorite song.
All right.
Even
I
though
did not pick that
Eric's
one.
head is shaved and says 666, mine says 665 because I'm right there next to him.
Not quite as evil.
Yeah,
Right.
actually, somewhere in my shirt collection, I have a T-shirt that says 665, Neighbor of the Beast.
That's awesome.
Fantastic.
Oh man. Oh,
No,
that's hilarious.
This and one other song from this album. When someone says Maiden, those are the first two songs in my mind that will always pop into my head.
Right.
And I think 90% of the metal population that has a passing familiarity with the band, it's going to be one of those two songs.
Oh yeah.
This is, I think it's got, again, what I love about it so much is the story. These guys, again, Steve Harris is a master lyricist and can tell a story in a song probably better than just about anybody else, with the exception of maybe the late, great Neil Peart.
There you go. I was waiting for that.
I even said the last name right too. So,
That's right. You sure did.
Good.
Sure did. All right, Tim, anything to add?
Whenever my wackadoodle religious fundy family members would go on and talk about, Satan is in the metal music. This song obviously always came up. So how could I not love it? Right? You had me at hated by Bible thumpers. Okay.
Oh, wonderful. Inspired by a nightmare Harris had after a late night viewing of Damien Omen 2. The lyrics were also inspired by the poem Tam O'Shanter from Robert Burns. The band actually wanted Vincent Price for the opening, and for years I thought it was Vincent Price. But they were not willing to pay his fee of £25,000. That's a lot of money.
That's a little steep for that, I would think.
It is a little steep. I always heard that he wouldn't get out of it. He wouldn't leave his house for less than $10,000. So anyway, actor Barry Clayton did it for the cheap, doing a very good Price impression. Clayton is probably best known for his voice work as Dr. Quackbrain on the cartoon Count Duckula.
Wow.
65 episodes.
Wow.
I don't even know what that is. I don't even know what that cartoon is.
Yeah,
I remember.
I do remember Count Duckula. Yeah.
He was on it. Yep, there you go. Go look that up on IMDb. It's there. I looked. All right. So who got that right? Anybody get that right? Is a favorite? All right. Very good. I'm like batting 0.
Yeah, me too.
I can play for the Reds. I'm batting 0. Never mind. Anyway, moving on. Okay. Run to the Hills, John.
Again, this is the second song that if you're going to say, name me something from Iron Maiden, 99.9% of the people out there, I think it would be Number of the Beast or Run to the Hills. This is the first song of theirs that I can remember hearing.
Okay.
I remember seeing the video on MTV.
Yeah.
It was in, surprisingly pretty heavy rotation back in the day.
Well, back then they didn't have a lot of videos, so they kept playing a lot of stuff.
I mean, but still, for a pretty, at the time up and coming British heavy metal band, they got a lot of airplay out of this. I wasn't, so into them than when I first heard this, but I always enjoyed the video because it had this very Monty Python-esque kind of quality to it.
The video did.
Yeah. This is one of the songs that I want to hear live. Matter of fact, it's one of my favorite moments on the the DVD for Flight 666 when they've got the two roadies background and they're doing it back and they're doing the hand gestures, run to the hills.
Awesome.
You can tell it's late in the tour and they just don't give a damn anymore. They've heard these songs so many times, but that's the image that pops up in my head, as opposed to when I'd always hear the old black and white movie that they intercut with the performance footage. But
Yeah.
Buster Keaton movies.
I mean, this is one of my favorite Bruce vocal performances on this album.
Yeah.
All right.
It's, again, this is what I think of when somebody says Maiden. This and Number of the Beast are probably the two songs that I think.
Sam, anything to add?
I'm with John. I think this might have been, probably was the first Maiden song that I ever heard or remember hearing. But my story about it is from many years later. And it was my first metal dad moment when my daughter was less than a year or two old, and I was home with her one day. We were the only ones in the house. Mommy was at work and I had the day off, and I had her in her high chair and just giving her something to eat. We were just kind of hanging out, and I put some music on Sirius XM or something like that. This is before we had access to things like streaming. And this song came on, and I looked over at her, and she was doing the baby version of headbanging. And I had this moment of, yes.
Oh, that's a great story. All right. I love it. Eric, anything to add?
I pretty much said everything that I had down for this and earlier, when I discovered it on that, K-Tail record, but
Gotcha.
it's probably the first song that I ever heard like that, like the horse gallop rhythm, the Maiden, triplet kind of thing. I'd have to venture that it was 100% probably the first song I ever heard that had that. Of course, there's a lot of metal songs that have that, now, but definitely the first time I heard that. But like John said, it's one of the songs that they're known for.
Right.
I'm quite sure there was a point in music where right after this was released that every metal band looked at their bass player and said, do that right now.
And most of them couldn't do it.
Yeah.
You're like, you're crazy. What the hell's wrong with you? So yeah, some interesting info on this. Run to the Hills was obviously their first single. It was released before the album came out. They were in such a rush, they had to decide between Gangland or Total Eclipse. Gangland made onto the album, and Total Eclipse was the B-side. Since it was a rushed decision, to this day, Harris feels like they made the wrong choice, and they should have switched those two songs, Total Eclipse being on the album and Gangland being the B-side. Interesting. So, as iconic as this song is, it's probably my least favorite song on the album, mostly because it was in big rotation on MTV. And
it got old.
It got old, and honestly,
I agree with that.
I'm on the exact opposite side of John. I don't like the live version. I don't think it translates well to live. It's one of the few songs I hear from Maiden that I don't like live. And because of that, it hurts me a little bit to, when it's on the album, because my brain goes, but it doesn't sound good live. So I have a hard time with it. But yes, I agree. The galloping guitar sound is fantastic. I mean, it's a well-crafted song, and Dickinson sounds awesome, but whatever reason, it's not one of the ones I look forward to when I'm listening to the album. So I know, weird take, and I'm used to it. It's
You're
okay.
a snob.
I'm not a snob.
Bougie.
Well, okay. Yes. Snob. Fine.
Budgie.
I have 5 playlists on my Spotify account from 5 bands where it's their entire studio discography in a row. Of course, Iron Maiden is one of them. But yes, I listen to the entire albums all the way through if I can, because that's the way it got intended. Well, at least the producers. But anyway, okay. Moving on to the next track, Gangland, written by Clive Burr and Steve Harris. Tim.
Well, to paraphrase Gandalf, I have no memory of this song.
What?
I don't think I had ever played it until getting ready for this episode. So this was brand new for me.
All right.
But overall, I think this one is just okay. The guitars and the drums are awesome, but the lyrics don't do much for me. I guess I'm just not a huge fan of gangster related stuff. And beyond that, I don't really have much to say about this one. So I'm going to turn it over to the group and see if anyone else has anything they want to add.
All right, Eric.
I think it's a great, fun song. It ticks all the boxes for Maiden. And a little bit of a shocker. It's got some great guitar in it. So
What?
What? Where?
I'm shocked.
Maiden's a guitar band?
Good thoughts. Whatever. All right, John.
As painful as it is for me to say it, I'm going to have to agree 100% with Mr. Brown.
Because
man.
Tim is healthy for you.
Oh, Jesus.
We can start this shit again.
see what you started.
I'm sorry. Can we roll this back and take 2?
Healthy for you.
Nope.
Just nope. Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's a glitch in your matrix, my friend.
Yes, there is.
What
the listeners can't see is that my camera is going crazy right now.
Oh,
I
that's
just
all
thought
right.
you were really quick.
Yeah.
That's okay. I'm putting
For
this on
God's sake, pull
Patreon
up
so
your
people can see
pants.
this.
Now this one doesn't do a whole lot for me.
All right.
There's nothing essentially wrong with it. Just not my cup of tea.
Okay. So I love the drums on this track. I dig the middle instrumental section before the solo. It's also another great example of the vocals pairing very well with the music, especially during the chorus. Check it out and you'll hear what I'm saying. So I like the song. I like the story it tells of somebody who is ratted on, the mafia and is waiting to be found out and shot. So I think it's cool. It's a great story idea. So why not? Okay. So who hasn't really revealed their favorite song yet? Everybody has, right? Or no, we haven't gotten there.
You haven't.
Tim didn't.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
I did.
then-
Yeah, I did. Prisoner.
Prisoner, that's right. All right.
Okay.
I
I'm
said
sorry.
that right when I started. Yeah.
I just want to
All
make
right,
sure.
I'm sorry.
Okay, very
Pay
good.
attention, John.
Is
Yeah,
this
well.
your favorite song, Dayton?
Oh, well, no shit.
Yeah, because it's the longest damn song on the album.
That's not the only reason. So yes, Hallowed Be Thy Name, my favorite Maiden song.
And
On this
all
album.
3 of us picked it for you.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes,
2 out
I
of
know.
3, baby.
Yes. It's actually my favorite Maiden song of all time. And several members of the band share this opinion. Dickinson describes it as fantastic, and performing it live feels like narrating a film. So back when we all still lived at home and, tore sheets, pages out of magazines or whatever, and decorated our walls, I actually tore a page out of a rock and roll magazine that had the lyrics to this song, and I put it on my wall. So yes, forever, this has been my favorite Iron Maiden song. It has been in all but 3 of their set lists. So that's pretty impressive considering how long they've been touring. AllMusic describes it as perhaps the most celebrated of the band's extended epics, features some of Harris's most philosophical lyrics. Yes, I agree 100%. I love everything about this song. Absolutely everything, from the very first note to the very end. Specifically, I love the main riff. The melody is the backbone of the entire song. As Tim mentioned before, they kind of change things here and there. It goes throughout the entire song. They just change a little bit. It's a little varied here and there, but it's always there in some form or another. Love it. The second half of the track is absolutely amazing, especially the section going into that second half. And as far as I'm concerned, the two best solos on the album are in this song. This song lyrically, it's, you know, I picture it in my head. I picture the story of this guy, and I love it. I will listen to it literally on repeat when I get a chance. And I used to do that, but no, by far and away, it's never wavered. Even on social media, people say, "What's your favorite Iron Maiden song?" First thing out of my mouth, no hesitation, none whatsoever. Perfect way to end the album. Everything they've done well throughout the entire album is, you know, appears in this track, and it leaves you going, yeah, we're going to listen to the whole thing all over again. So it's, in my mind, it's a perfect way to finish, and it's a perfect friggin' song.
What do you guys think? You think Dayton likes this song?
You know,
iffy.
20 minutes later, after that.
Yeah, it's a 7-minute song, and we get a 20-minute dissertation.
Hey, it's only 7 minutes long. Leave me alone.
Is this the first time that somebody's got every guess right, though?
Yeah, pretty much.
I feel
I got them all wrong.
I'm so happy right now.
I got them all wrong, man.
You got them
I got 2 out of 3.
Yeah, the only one
The
that
only one
I
I
knew
got was Dayton.
the only one I knew I had right was
That was
Dayton.
given.
You knew you had who?
Me?
Dayton.
Yeah.
Okay.
Come on, I'm an open book, man. Shit.
I'd have been shocked had it been any other track. I really
Right.
would.
All right, Eric, anything to add to Hallowed Be Thy Name?
Oh, I'm probably getting nailed for this, but I only like this one once it kicks in. I'm not a fan of the slow intro, but Dayton, you can probably attest to this. I'm usually not a fan of any of the slow Iron Maiden stuff, really.
That's true.
But once it does kick in, it's classic. But like I said, I usually will jump ahead. If I'm listening to this one a little bit and get to the part where it starts rocking. So.
All right.
But that shouldn't shock you that it's your favorite.
Let's move on from the Unabomber. John.
It's my 3rd favorite song on the album.
All right. Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, again, this is another one of, again, I sound like a broken record, but it's another one of those quote unquote classic Maiden sounding songs. It hits every note that you expect a Maiden song to hit.
Yeah.
And it's very true to form for those guys, and there's nothing wrong with that. They have a very, sounds negative to say this way, they have a very limited niche, but they do it well. And,
right.
And this is a good example of that.
Okay.
They know their lane.
Yeah. And they're not, they've got no issue staying in it.
Right. All right.
Nothing wrong with that at all.
Anything to add, Tim?
If somebody tells me that Metallica wasn't going for this kind of a vibe when they wrote something like Battery, I have to conclude that person is either an idiot or a liar. It is such a clear influence on that early Metallica stuff.
Oh yeah, they were big fans of Maiden, especially the early stuff. But yeah, absolutely. All right. So we're gonna take a quick break and hear some from our other podcast friends. When we get back, we're gonna hit some final thoughts and give this album a rating.
Hey, check it out. There's a brand new podcast on the way exploring the discographies of the Beatles and the Beach Boys.
It's called Apples and Oranges, and it launches on February 7th.
We will be matching albums against each other in a 1v1 format, discussing every single track and then giving our verdict on which album is better.
Pet Sounds versus Revolver. Sgt. Pepper versus Smile.
Wouldn't it be nice if most people knew how well the Beach Boys actually held up against the Fab Four?
Both bands inspired each other to keep pushing the boundaries of what was possible in pop music here, there, and everywhere.
And what we got were some of the greatest albums of all time.
All Summer Long versus A Hard Day's Night. Rubber Soul versus the Beach Boys Today.
So let's come together for some fun, and help me, Rhonda, get this podcast off the ground. And we'll sure appreciate you being around on February 7th, wherever you find your podcast.
That's Apples and Oranges, February 7th.
If you like fun, then you're going to love the Beard Owl Podcast. It's a podcast where we talk about two of the greatest things in the world, beer and Weird Al. And frankly, we talk more about Weird Al than anything because he's the gift that keeps on giving. So join us as we talk through Weird Al's career, what he means to us, and we have some very special guests on to discuss the magic that is Alfred Matthew Yankovic. Beard Al, part of the Odd Pods Media Network.
Welcome to the All 80s Movies Podcast.
I'm Bill.
And I'm Jason. And this is the podcast where we talk about the blockbusters, the flops, and everything in between from one of the freshest decades for movies, the 1980s. So whether you're a brain, a jock, a valley girl, or a Jedi, we've got some 80s classics for you.
Do these movies stand the test of time? Are we discovering something new? Is there an 80s movie we are finally watching for the first time?
Join us each week as we dive into the cinematic nostalgia that inspired and influenced a generation. From the hits to the cult classics, we'll discuss our earliest memories, favorite scenes, fun facts, and our not-so-favorite movie moments, too.
You can find the All 80s Movies Podcast wherever you listen to your podcast. Please subscribe and happy listening.
All right. So, how do you want to sum this up, and what is your rating? 1 to 5 records. Tim.
I'm going to give it 4 records. The stuff on this album that I love, I really love. The stuff that I don't like doesn't really turn me off all that much to lower the rating even more. It's a killer album. This is quintessential Iron Maiden.
All right, Eric.
It bounces back and forth between either my second or my third favorite Maiden album. And so for my score, it is a 4.07.
John.
Again, this is from the cover to the singles on this. This is what most people think of with a Maiden album. So I know you asked for a 1 to 5 rating. I'm going to give it a 6.66.
I was wondering if anybody was going to do that. I was wondering, and it's not surprising that you did it, John. So thank you very much for that. You don't disappoint. Thank you. So, as we mentioned earlier, it is not Power Slave, which is a perfect album. So this one is almost there. So I give it a 4.5 because it's not quite Power Slave, but it's still my favorite album and probably will be until I die. There you go. Anyway,
actually, now that I think about it, this is because after I said it, I'm starting to think, and this is probably my 4th or 5th favorite Maiden album.
Jeez, it just keeps going down. What the hell?
Yeah.
What the hell is wrong with you?
It's
Somebody
a
pulled
great
the rug
album,
out from under it on over at Eric's.
I like a lot of the later stuff. I like Somewhere in Time. I like a lot. Seventh Son, The Seventh Son is a fantastic album.
Yep.
And obviously, Power Slave is their best. And I have to also mention, I think they might have the best live album that I've ever heard in Live After Death. So.
Absolutely. 100%. I would agree with that.
I mean, really, when you're ranking a Maiden catalog, you're actually splitting hairs to get to what your favorite album is a lot of times.
Yeah.
And, there's not a lot of separation between anything in their catalog. They're very, very consistent.
Yeah.
Probably the most consistent band in metal.
Yeah. Well, I know as far as live shows go, in Scott Ian's book, which we mentioned numerous times on this podcast, he mentions that they're one of the best bands to tour with. They're super friendly, both on and off the stage. And he said, you'll never see a more consistent live band in your life. And I'm like, that is quite a statement coming from somebody who tours like all the time. So
yeah, it's cool too, because you hear from a lot of different bands that have been on the road with them that they're all really nice guys. So it's not just like Scott's a huge Iron Maiden fan, because you do hear that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, the Frank Bellows book, when he talked about meeting Steve when they was in New York, they were mixing Peace of Mind and they were waiting for him outside of a restaurant, and he invited them in. These teenagers invited him in because he saw their peril and realized what they were doing. They invited him in, let him sit at the table while he ate his dinner and talk to him. I don't care. That just makes
cool is that?
That's fucking awesome, is what that is. I'm super jealous. Friggin' Steve Harris, you see those like things on social media, like, oh, I created this, I created that. There's picture of Steve Harris. Yeah, I created Iron Maiden. So, yep, winner, winner. Anyway, moving on. All right, so this was everything I expected it to be. I got to admit, I wasn't sure about a few things, but you guys brought it like you always do. So before we end, John, why don't you tell people where they can find your art and where are you going to be soon?
Let's see. You can find my art at Facebook at JW Art Studios, The Art of John Wright. April 27th, I will be at Cincinnati PopCon at the Cincinnati Convention Center. Following that, we're looking at May will be Free Comic Book Day at Bell Book and Comic. June, I currently don't have anything for June or July. Then going forward in the year, I'll be at Cincinnati Comic Expo. I'll be at Dayton Comic or Gym City Comic Con. I'm gonna be like a fungus. I'm just gonna turn up wherever I can.
Wherever it's dark and moist, there will be John.
Ever say that again, Brown? I will kill you.
And the wheels just fell off. Tim, where can people find your videos?
You can find me on most of the big social media platforms with the handle @TimBMusician. As we record this episode, this coming weekend, I'm planning to get my next couple of YouTube videos shot. The next one's going to be a build video for my birthday a few weeks ago. My mother-in-law bought me a cigar box guitar kit. So I'm going to have some fun putting that together and seeing what the heck that sounds like.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah.
I'm all in for that.
And then I'm going to be getting back to the Synth Basics series. I'm finally going to dive into some practical applications and tie it into another video I did a year or two ago called Why Can't I Play More Van Halen? And I'm going to try and recreate some famous Van Halen synth sounds using only free software instruments. And I hope people are going to come by and check those out. Leave me a comment to tell me what they think and support me on Patreon, just like you do our friend Dayton.
Yep, of course. And Eric, where can people find your music?
Let's see, go to Bandcamp. It's just basically everything is Eric Jason Brock. So on Bandcamp it is, on YouTube it is. My website is just ericjasonbrock.com. If you put Eric Jason Brock in something social media, I'll probably pop up.
Yep. Now, I enjoy your guitar videos quite a bit.
Thank you.
There's a lot of it that goes over my head because I don't play guitar, but I do enjoy it because I do try to pick the song and figure out the song you're playing, because it's like, oh, but I know that one, because that's kind of who we are. I try to name the album and everything because I'm a nerd. It's okay. And I'm proud of it. Or wait, I'm a snob, right? Isn't that right, John? I'm a snob.
Bougie. Bougie.
Bougie snob.
Yeah, and I still put up with you three guys. So I don't know what that says about me. Anyway. All right.
You're a glutton for punishment.
That is very true.
You have to pay somebody else to do this? I mean...
You do this for free?
Yeah. What are you talking about? We all do it for free. I don't know what the hell's wrong with you guys.
He doesn't pay you guys?
And so thank you, Tim, for stopping by.
Thank you, Dayton.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
And thank you, John.
Thank you.
And as always, thank you to the listeners for stopping by and spending time with us. I hope this was as much fun as for you as it was for us. If not, So follow us on social media. All of our social media information is in the show notes. Reach out to us. Let us know what you think about this episode. Let us know what you think about this album. Are you a big Maiden fan? Is this your favorite album? What's your favorite song from them? Let us know. We also have a Discord. Join that and chat with us 24/7. If you are so inclined, join our Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, you have full access to all of our exclusive content, as well as some behind the scenes videos of episodes. And yeah, that's it. Sorry. So yes, so do us a favor. If you are unable to join our Patreon, share us on social media, share us with your family and friends and coworkers, because as far as I'm concerned, more people, more better. And do us a favor, rate and review on your favorite podcast app. If we see the review, we will share it on social media and also read it on the air. Some upcoming episodes I want to mention. April is all about sports movies. We are discussing Green Street Hooligans, Tin Cup, Everybody Wants Some, and Miracle with our special guest, Michael Burgett from the Screen Nerds podcast. Do yourself a favor and listen to more music. And remember, physical media is better than streaming. The Docking Bay 77 podcast is produced and edited by Dayton Johnson, recorded with Rode Pod mics, the Zoom PodTrack P4, and edited on Audacity. Opening music provided by Eric Jason Brock. You can find him on YouTube and Bandcamp. Thank you for listening.
When the praise comes to raid, may the